So now time for some logistics, or how will IBT run this year. There are a few main components that I would like to draw your attention to, the first of which are the pre-recorded lectures by bioinformatics experts. I would just like to point out that this year we will be making all of our lecture content and material available via our YouTube channel. And we have a specific channel dedicated to all of IBT videos this year. So once you navigate to our YouTube page, you will see the IBT channel over there, which will contain all of these lecture videos, including the one you are seeing right now. So if you do know anyone who may find some of this course content beneficial, or who may not have been able to attend the course this year, please pass this link along to them and they'll be able to view all of the content that you'll be viewing within your contact sessions as well. The next big component of the course is the face-to-face component, which is the local classrooms that you are watching this training video in right now. Most of you know that we will be having bi-weekly contact sessions, which will take place on the Tuesday and Thursday of every week for the next few months. Within your classrooms, you should already have met your teaching assistants and possibly your systems administrator. I would like to point out that you must please direct any questions, concerns, or queries to your TA. I know that many of you have been contacting me personally, and I've been doing my best to respond to as many emails as possible. However, with hundreds and hundreds of emails coming in on a daily basis, it makes it very difficult for us to respond to each one individually, and we'd hate for any of you to feel that we are not responding to your concerns or your questions. So please direct your questions to your TA first. If they are not in a position to assist you, that question or concern will be escalated to either me or Babalo or anybody else within the core team, and we will do our best to assist you in that regard. But the take-home message is, please direct any and all questions to your TA first. Now I'd like to move on and just introduce you to our course management platform known as Voula. You would all have been loaded into Voula before the start of today's session, so I hope that some of you, if not all of you, have browsed the interface and tried to play around with some of the tabs a little bit already. But I will touch on some of the main aspects of Voula, as well as the main resources that we'll be making use of within Voula this year. And I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that all of your practical assignments will be made available on Voula and will need to be submitted on Voula as well. More on that later. Your module assessments or course assessments will also be made available via Voula, and you will be expected to take the assessment within Voula. So please make sure that you are comfortable and ask your TA early if you are not comfortable with any of the resources within Voula that is vital for the completion of this course. We do also have a question and discussion forum in Voula, so if you are uncomfortable asking any questions during the live Q&A, you will be able to start your own thread within Voula as well, but I'll touch on forums and the Q&A a little bit later on in some of the videos to follow. The last point that I'd like to draw your attention to are the feedback forms. The feedback forms, although not compulsory, are quite vital to us improving the course year on year. So please make sure that at the end of each module or at the end of the entire IBT course, you do provide us with some feedback, because we are very interested in hearing how your experience of the course has been. Now, I've mentioned before that there are lectures that have been pre-recorded that will be loaded onto YouTube, but that there will also be a live Q&A at the end of every session. Now, the way that we will facilitate the live Q&A will be via our online conferencing platform that we'll be using this year, known as Adobe Connect. Now, please do not worry about Adobe Connect if you are a participant. Your TAs have been tasked with setting up this environment for you and will be logging on your behalf at the end of every session for that live Q&A, so you don't have to worry about this at all. Your questions that you'll be asking the trainers will happen via Adobe Connect. You will be able to use the webcam interface to ask your questions live to the trainer. But if you are at all uncomfortable with asking your question, please ask your TA to do so on your behalf, or ask your TA to type your question into the chat box that you will see on the left, and we will do our best to answer any and all questions either live or within this chat box. But please make use of it, and please ensure that you are comfortable with the interface as well, although you will not be able or not be expected to actively be busy within the platform. I'd also just like to touch on the layout for each session. This is just the general layout and can change from time to time, and there are certain components that may or may not be used within our sessions this year. But the general layout will be as follows. At around 10:20 CAT, all classrooms will sign on to Adobe Connect. If you can remember, I said that there would generally be one login per classroom, because the TAs are doing this for you on your behalf. We may or may not include the Meet the Featured Classroom component this year. I'll touch more on that later, so please ignore that for now. Once you have all signed into Adobe Connect and you are all ready to watch the lecture recordings, your TA will then play these recordings for you within your session. Once you have completed these recordings, we do opt to give you a little break so that you can just have a little breather and be a bit refreshed before the start of your practical assignment. Now, I've mentioned before that at the end of each module, you will be expected to complete a practical assignment. So the practical assignments will be started within the session, and you'll be given about 30 minutes to work on that assignment before the trainer will sign on for the live Q&A session. If there are any pressing questions or anything that you are not understanding quite well within that practical assignment, this will be your opportunity to chat live to your trainer, who will be available via Adobe Connect for about 1 hour before the session will then end at 2:30 CAT. Now, I've mentioned the virtual classroom before, and I just thought that it would be interesting to show you where some of your classrooms are situated across Africa this year. So as you can see from this map, we have quite a nice reach this year. We've got IBT classrooms across many African countries this year. I think we've got classrooms in about 13 to 15 African countries this year, which is very exciting. Our network is growing and we are reaching more and more audiences, so we are very happy about that. And we just thought it would be interesting for you to visualize where all these classrooms are situated. Now, I've mentioned Voula quite a lot before, but I thought that I should show you the interface and just show you what you can expect when you log on to Voula for the first time. When you log on to Voula, your landing page will look a little bit like this. You will land on the overview section, which again is just giving you some information about the IBT course this year. I've mentioned certain tabs before, such as the forums tab, the assignments tab. So I just wanted to illustrate visually where those tabs are and what they look like, so that you're comfortable with it when you log on to Voula for the first time. Now, we have an announcement tab. We will be making any important announcements within that tab. You may not get an email specifically if we have anything to announce or anything important that we need to communicate with you. It'll be posted in the announcements page in order to ensure that everyone is getting all of the important information about the course at all times, and to ensure that there's some type of central repository for all of these announcements. We then have a very important tab known as the resources tab, This tab will contain all of your day plans, as well as some of the guides to your practical assignments and any other content we feel is necessary for these sessions. Some of the data sets that you'll be working with will also be made available within the resources tab. So any information that you need in order to complete the practical, or any additional information, overview documents, guides on how to use Voula, or guides on how to use Adobe Connect will be contained within this tab. So it's a very important tab for both the participants as well as the staff. I've also mentioned forums before. You will be able to start your own discussion thread or question thread within this, but I'll touch on that a little bit more extensively later on, so I'm not going to discuss it that much here. I've also mentioned that we will have an assignments tab, which can be seen here. All of your practical assignments will need to be uploaded within the assignments portal within Voula. I've also mentioned that your assessments will all take place via Voula. All of your course or module assessments will be placed within the tests and quizzes tab over here. So please familiarize yourselves with that interface as well, because it will be very important going forward. Now, one thing that we have decided to introduce again this year are consolidation sessions. And if you look at the IBT schedule overall, which is again provided within Voula, you will see I've listed a few consolidation sessions every few weeks. And the point of this is to just give you as a participant a bit of a breather, a mental break from some of the content that you'll be internalizing throughout this course and being given throughout this course. During these consolidation sessions, you will often be given the opportunity to explore some real world problems using some actual data sets, and this will often be done in the form of a group exercise. But again, this is to just give you a bit of a break and to have you apply some of the skills that you've been learning throughout this course. Your assignments or your group exercises that you complete during these sessions, you will also need to submit to us via Voula forums, but again, we will touch on that a little bit later, and we will re-explain some of this information when it becomes relevant later on. Now, I just wanted to touch on what you will need to do in order to obtain the course letter of completion. So, in order to pass the course, participants will be required to do the following things. Number one is to attend the contact sessions. We need you to attend all or most of our contact sessions. If you are not able to attend some of the sessions, please inform your TAA in advance so that we can monitor how many sessions you are missing, because this is a vital component of the course. We also need you to submit 90% of your practical assignments by the relevant or provided hand-in date. You will have to do this in order to obtain the course letter of completion, so please be sure to complete all of your assignments on time. The last and final aspect or component that you will need to complete in order to get the course letter of completion would be your module or your course assessments, and you will need to hand this in again by a relevant or provided hand-in date. And with the course assessments, you will need to obtain a minimum grade of 60% overall. So this is why I've told you before that assessments tab is so vital, and it's very important for you to understand and be comfortable with the interface. So please check out that interface, and if there are any questions or concerns, you will be able to raise that with your TA sooner rather than later. Now I'd like you to watch the video labeled part 6, and we'll continue on from there.